It wasn't too long ago that Mayor Pete was running for president. Today, though, he's President Biden's transportation secretary overseeing a major supply chain crisis. He's been slammed for quietly slipping away to take paternity leave for months, staging bike rides to promote green energy while his security detail flanked him in a gas-guzzling SUV, and spending his days complaining about so-called racist highways. So how is Secretary Buttigieg faring in the minds of the American people? Here with an exclusive poll from the Trafalgar Group and Conventions of States Action is the president of Conventions of States Action, Mark Meckler. Mark, good to get you back. I have to note, I have a whole chapter and that I detail everyone in the administration, including Pete Buttigieg, in my book, Radical Nation. And I do a deep dive on his credentials. I mean, this is a guy who went from overseeing South Bend's 66 buses, to overseeing the Department of Transportation, which oversees the airways, roadways, highways, seaways, mass transit, and so much more. Mark, I mentioned this in the book. This was clearly an LGBTQ box, which both Biden and Mayor Pete admitted to checking. And I think, frankly, what your poll says to me is the American people see through the charade, and he wasn't qualified to be the secretary.
Yeah, they saw through the charade of Mayor Pete all the way through the election. That's why he didn't win the election. And they're seeing it now. He was not qualified for this position. And it's really an outrage that with such a major department, so many Americans depend on this department to operate efficiently. Putting him in charge of that department was a very bad move and very damaging to the United States. I don't think anybody anticipated the supply chain crisis. He's not up to the task. Frankly, I'm not sure even what he's doing.
All right, so I do want to get to this exclusive polling as well, because 55% of voters overall say Biden is doing a poor job of handling the supply chain crisis, and obviously Pete Buttigieg under that. There are 29% of people, though, that actually think they're doing a great job, good or excellent job. So who is that 29%? Is that Democrats?
Yeah, I mean, primarily they're Democrats, and they're people who have, frankly, no idea what's going on. I mean, they're just not paying attention. And we have these kind of partisans on both sides of the aisle that they'll just say, well, if it's Biden, he's doing a great job. If it was a Republican president and they're Republicans, there are a certain amount that will say they're doing a great job no matter what. I think that's who falls in that category.
You know, it's interesting, though, when you break it down by party, 48% of Democrats, 89% of Republicans, and 78% of independents all grade his performance poor or fair. But, I mean, I guess the question is, based on what's going on, are you surprised by any of that?
I'm not surprised, but I would say, and I'm feeling like a broken record, I'm a little bit concerned about this, but the polls are really consistent. When you see that percentage of independents that have turned against the president, it took independents to get him elected. He's losing independents on virtually every issue facing the nation right now. It's a very dangerous sign for President Biden, and the Democrats will try to ride his coattails.
But all that says to me is it kind of goes back to the last question that Lindsay asked, which is basically just, yes, you have people that are reflexive that say if it's a Democrat, if it's Buttigieg or Biden or Kamala Harris or anybody, as long as they have a D, I'm with them, no matter what, come high or dry, right? I mean, so that's to me what you're seeing in this poll is that they've basically hit rock bottom.
Yeah, I mean, you wonder exactly where the bottom is. It's interesting to me, the bottom on this presidency seems to be almost limitless, I would say, because there was really nobody that was excited about electing Joe Biden. And this is important. Enthusiasm matters. If you went out and you polled who's excited about Joe Biden, I don't know, that might have run 5% during the election. People liked him as opposed to Trump, or they were Democratic partisans as opposed to Republicans, but there was no enthusiasm for him. And that means the bottom is almost limitless.
You know, when we talk about the economy, right now we know the American wage gap has increased with inflation, that, you know, we haven't seen that influx there. Everything's becoming more expensive. People aren't getting paid enough. Mayor Pete recently said, speaking of him, that he wants everyone to get an electric car. This is something the administration has been trying to get ahead of here. Here's what Congressman Dan Crenshaw said in response to that. He tweeted this. He said the average price for an electric vehicle is $50,000. Democrats want to pay a $12,000 electric vehicle credit to people who make up to $500,000. Democrats have gone from tax the rich to tax the working class to buy the rich an electric car. Let me ask you this, Mark. Democrats in the past have been the party that is in touch with the middle class. They fight for the middle class. It seems like we've seen a complete shift here over the last year.
Yeah, the Democrat Party has become the party that really represents the self-appointed elite in our society. If you look at who's buying electric cars, who's driving electric cars, if you go into the average American suburban neighborhood, you're not seeing a lot of Teslas or, frankly, other electric cars there. These are for wealthy white folks in the suburbs, primarily Democrats, and it's absolutely outrageous that poor or middle-income Americans are paying the subsidies on those cars.
Mark, always appreciate your time and appreciate the exclusive polling for our viewers here at home. So thanks for being with us.
Great to be with you guys.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.